Like your dad, you played rugby, and in your teenage years, your dream was to go to the Olympics, but that wasn't possible because South Africans were not allowed to participate due to its apartheid government. South Africa did have compulsory military service, and when you were 17, you were selected to join the South African Special Forces. You were chosen from a pool of 4,000 young men, a group that was whittled down to 400 and then to 40. You were sent to Namibia and then to Angola, where you fought Russian communist insurgents who were crossing the South African borders. You weren't sitting in tanks. You were fighting guerrilla warfare in close combat, setting up landmines and other explosive, tracking the Russians and gathering intelligence behind enemy lines. This was your first time in your life that you witnessed death. We're going to talk a lot more later in the podcast about the incredible danger of what you do for a living and some specifics of your expeditions. But before we do, can you tell us how spending time in the Army and witnessing death influenced your future? And what are the two kinds of people you learned about when you were in the Army?
It was quite interesting, Randy, when I was chosen to go to the Special Forces, and that's more or less at the same time that my father got cancer and passed away. So when he asked me why I wanted to join the Special Forces, he wanted to understand the reason behind why I wanted to go out there and fight the war. And I said, because I think that I can make a difference. I can save lives. I can be the one that not only engage into an action, but I can avoid an action. I can avoid a disaster, because he taught me how to look at things. And that was quite important, and maybe a story we could share a little bit later, that he asked me one day to look at a wall and tell me what I see just looking at a wall. And the way that he taught me how to look at things, I started applying in my life to the age of 18 years old, when he got cancer and eventually passed away. So the fact that I became a Special Force soldier that went out into Angola to fight Russian insurgents that were infiltrating into South Africa to get to the uranium that we had. For me, at that stage, I thought, wow, I've got to fight this war. I've got to be able not to die at a very young age. And when I told my father that, I think I can make the difference, and that he educated me in a way to outsmart others, maybe, he said to me, Mike, the only way you can survive the war is if you don't fight it. Don't go and fight the war, because you'll die. Go out there with the mentality to survive the war, and then you'll make right decisions. Not meaning you won't possibly be killed, or you won't have to take the life of others in some or other situation, but think about survival. Don't think about fighting. And when I came back from Angola, and I was one of very few that was left alive, it was most probably because I thought of surviving the war while I was fighting it, while the others were only thinking of fighting the war to win it. And that's not the same mentality.